Hey everyone, and welcome to Black Moth Radio, where we make working from home work for you. My name is Robin Bull, and I am your host. And, while we're at it, make sure and go check out confessionsfromthecouch.com and join the community. We have almost 2,000 subscribers. You certainly don't want to miss any of the fun over there. Today, I actually received a couple of questions from Twitter, and I thought that I would go ahead and address the answers here in a podcast because there are a couple of the more common questions that I get asked. So, question number one, which then ties into question number two, but question number one, is it possible for someone to make spare cash in 2 or 3 hours a day with writing? And the answer to that is yes. However, it will still require that you put the work in to find a steady stream of business. People aren't just going to show up randomly and just give you assignments. And you also have to make sure that you price your work appropriately. It's also going to depend largely on what you consider spare cash. Is that $60 in a week? Is that $60 a month? Is it just fun money? Is it money that you really need because, you're not able to make the ends meet? So, are we looking more at a couple $100 a month, $300 a month? Obviously, if you wanted to make hundreds or 1,000 or two in a week, then you're certainly going to need more than a couple of hours a day, especially if you don't have experience. And I do know a few freelancers who are writers who charge $150, $200, $300 an hour. But they can do that because they have experience and they generally only work with certain types of clients. So for them, it's almost always repeat work, and it's people that don't really need them very often. So, they still make enough to live off of, but, they really know their target market. You also need to make sure that you come up with a per word rate for your writing, a flat rate, and an hourly rate that's going to be able to meet your needs over the long run. And again, like I already said, you have to go out and find clients. Those clients could be small businesses in your area. It could be other writers who have overflow. It could be bigger businesses, whatever. On Upwork, there are lots of, people who need ghostwriters, article writers, web content, you name it, it's out there. And there's all sorts of fiction writing too. So if you want to make money, even just spending money with writing, yes, you're able to do it. Another consideration for some of you who may just be looking for fun money is consider looking at social media management type positions that rely on Buffer or Hootsuite or Crowdfire app. They're easy to learn, and generally if you can use one, I promise you can use all three. I use Buffer. I've used Hootsuite. I recently started using Crowdfire app, not for me. I use it for a client, and I had no idea how to use it. But once you get logged in, Crowdfire is a little different as far as login, but once you get logged in, it's pretty easy. It's easy to learn. Generally, at least as far as loading up the media content, although you're probably going to have to source it, or occasionally they'll provide it to you. They may want to use their own stuff, and of course they may want you to supplement in there too. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time to get them up and running and to use the right hashtags or whatever. With that being said, though, you want to make sure that you're on the same page with the client about how many posts per day that they want, and if they want you to reply to anyone through their profiles. So, if you want to pretend to be them. Generally, I leave the actual interaction part to my clients. I only handle social media right now for 2 lawyers. One is in Canada and the other is in Georgia. They travel extensively and spend 2-3 hours a week probably making sure that their social media accounts are loaded up. And that includes their Twitter, their Facebook page, LinkedIn, whatever, to make sure that their name and their business and what they do and news articles that, fit for their target audience go out on a regular basis. So that's, something else to maybe consider, especially if you know a lot about social media. It's a pretty easy gig. I would say make sure that you price appropriately per hour. You could do flat rate if you wanted to, but I have found that hourly works better in that respect. So, the other question that I get asked on a regular basis that ties into that first question. How does someone break into writing without prior experience? This obviously is an issue that every professional writer has because you're not born with writing experience. And, you may go to school, you may even go and get a degree in creative writing, journalism, English, whatever. You've learned the mechanics of writing. That doesn't mean that you actually have experience, unless, of course, you were able to do some writing on the side. But then again, that's how you built your experience. So, I had the same issue when I started. I had one novel that I wrote for NaNoWriMo a few years before I started writing professionally. I started looking into writing professionally. Well, I've looked into it for a long time, but I kind of decided, hey, this is what I want to do around 2012. I didn't have anything, though, at that time that I considered worthy of using as a showcase piece. So the first thing I did was I started a blog that was devoted to the college program that I taught for. I explained concepts of the law courses that I taught in more detail, and that was also really helpful for the students who couldn't make it to class for one reason or another. I had a lot of working parents that took my courses, so it was really helpful for them. I would also post and discuss recent Supreme Court case decisions. And thinking back to 2012, it's kind of funny because ultimately I thought that I would end up making money by ghostwriting fiction because it's really, outside of the legal realm, as a paralegal, that's really the only writing experience that I had. Of course, I had private, blogs for myself on and off for, probably since, 2008, 2009. So I knew about that stuff, but it just never really dawned on me that any of that would ultimately be a way to make money. So I did that for a while, ghostwriting fiction, various forms of fiction, and I eventually moved over into nonfiction, all sorts of nonfiction, web content, landing pages, blogs, articles, white papers. I do a lot of SEO writing. I do a lot of content auditing. I do a whole lot of that. So I learned, though, from that experience, the one thing I don't like doing, believe it or not, I did not like ghostwriting fiction. And it really had nothing to do with, my name not being on it. For a long time, I would do ghostwriting for nonfiction titles, and occasionally I'll still do that for specific clients who want to write ebooks or downloadables or whatever. So, it was never really an issue of my name not being on it. Anyway, so I started that one little blog for the college program, and then I started a couple of more blogs. I still have one that's over on Wix. I think that one was probably the last one that I created out of the ones that I made. And I made it under my business name because I wanted to put some evergreen content out there that I could send out as a writing sample. And what evergreen content is, it's content that you don't have to update or change on a regular basis. So it's pretty much good regardless of what year it's from. SEO, not not evergreen content. There are some basics that you could write about related to SEO if you enjoy, reading up on stuff like that you could probably turn into evergreen content, but it changes so fast, especially with Google and their updates, that it's not really something that you could create one really good catch-all post and send out. So think about concepts you're interested in, concepts you know a lot about. If you know about writing a business plan, if you know about researching papers, if you know how to do professional research, whatever it is, you can create some evergreen content and slap it up somewhere. Just make sure that your tone is right. Read over it, make sure you don't have any errors, because that's what you're going to use going forward as a writing sample. I actually talked about this in great detail. I have a portfolio lecture that's floating around out there. I think it's still over on sellfy.com/therobinbull. I'm pretty sure it's still over there for anyone who wants to get a copy of that. And I'm pretty sure that an audio-only version is over on my Patreon account as well. So, easy ways to find the content if you want to get into more detail for that. The difference between the one on Patreon and the one on sellfy.com, the one on sellfy.com I believe we got the video walkthrough on that one, and so you can actually see the websites and see what I did to create a portfolio. So, anyway, moving on. I also created a Blogspot blog, and it's actually still there. I had several, but the one that I used the most, it's still there. I would write personal essays. I talked a lot about freelance writing. Basically, a lot of what I do now over at confessionsfromthecouch.com, except I'm more established now. That one's more just for me. I'm not looking to. I realize it attracts attention. I'm easy to find online, but that's not what it's there for, so don't worry about it too much. But I basically did on my Blogspot account kind of what I'm doing now, except I made it more focused. Had some evergreen content there as well. And then the other thing that I started doing was reading Search Engine Journal. It's a website. I started reading their posts every single day. I still get their newsletter. They have a sister site too that is about marketing. I read that too on the daily. I don't read it every day now because of a time constraint, but I do look at the newsletter and go through and read the stuff that I think is most important or most interesting to me, and I do a lot of sharing of their content too. So my goal then, though, the reason I was reading both of those sites, obviously we're the internet age. Everything is online, and how do you post, how do you find stuff? You Google it, you look it up in a search engine. So I knew that search engine optimization was important, although I didn't know much about it. It was a really foreign concept to me, and so I knew that's something that I needed to learn about in plain English. And at the time, though, it was more about learning it so that I could get myself out there. It really wasn't, because again, at the time I was thinking, I'm going to end up ghostwriting fiction or blogs or whatever. And so I really didn't think about it in terms of how it could be beneficial to clients. It took a little while before that kind of hit me. But my goal was to learn what I could from sites written in plain English, so something that's easy to understand, because I needed to know how to create really good content for the web. So the other thing that I did, anyone listening to this, you remember Hub Pages, HUBPAGES? They were like associated content. I know associated content isn't around anymore. I wrote for them way back in the day. Again, it was at that time it was more just for something to do, and because I had ideas and I wanted to share them with the world. I'm pretty sure Hub Pages is still around. When I signed up, it was one of those, be a writer, write about what you love, we pay. And so basically, the way that they paid you was you would write your content, you'd slap up some pictures. You could have, like if you had an eBay affiliate account, you could put links in. If you had an Amazon affiliate account, again, you could put links in. They limited the number of links that you could put in if they were sales related. So they did a good job. At least then, I don't know about now. I'm sure they still do a good job, but they did a really good job at policing the content and making sure that it was valuable for the readers. And so people would go, you'd share your content, you'd go and comment on other people's stuff, you'd hope they'd come back and read yours and comment, just to kind of keep the flow going. The goal was when people would click on ads, because they had Google AdSense going, so when people would click on the ads, you would make money. I think maybe I earned a couple of bucks, but really, again, wasn't my reason for signing up for it. I knew that I needed something that I didn't have, like my own blog or whatever. I needed something. I felt like I needed something or some place to go where I could showcase my abilities. And since it was free, I decided to sign up. So, and I think that everyone, at least at some point, who's a writer. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean a professional writer. You could be writing poetry, you could be writing short stories, books, articles, whatever. I don't care what it is. People talk about writer's block. When you're a professional writer, I have a different opinion about it. But, in the beginning, oh my God, what do I write about? So I didn't really know what to do for a long time. What I ended up doing, they have forums. When you're a member, you can go and read in the forums. And so I would read in those forums. I would go to all sorts of websites and forums to find topics that I knew at least a little something about. And then I would write the articles. So, I my goal, though, was to focus on remaining neutral. I wanted to present facts and keep readers interested. I did post one or two op-eds on hub pages, but I did it on purpose because there are gigs out there that want someone to give opinion as opposed to facts. And so I wanted to make sure that I had sort of a mix of styles to show what I'm capable of doing. So, I mean, my personal opinion as far as news writing, I'm very much a straightforward, here's the facts, and leave people to make their own decisions. But I noticed that as I started doing research on becoming a professional writer from home, there wasn't a whole lot of solid information out there, especially free information, especially information that was actually useful and helpful. Pretty much no one told you what to do if you didn't have experience, or how to create a portfolio, how to showcase your work, how to write a good proposal. And I've talked about all of those things, and I've even created a free podcast on how to write a good Upwork proposal. There's a blog post on it too, and other people do that now. But, I'm talking 6 years ago, that stuff really wasn't out there. So it was pretty much left everything up to myself. I had to figure it out. And that's why I started doing the podcast, and that's why I have the blog, and that's why I have all of these things, and that's why I even have the job postings over on Patron, because, those are things that people really find helpful when they're looking to get started. So, there's something else that I did want to talk about that has to do with writing. One thing that a lot of people don't understand, and it doesn't matter if you're wanting to write for fun money or you're looking to have a full-fledged income, okay? Ultimately, what you're doing is still a business. So you have to take what you're doing seriously. You have to stick to deadlines. You have to make it your business to find clients. You have to make it your business to market yourself. Like I said earlier, no one just shows up and it's like, ooh, here, special delivery, have some clients. It doesn't work that way. So, it's kind of like when you don't have a job, you make it your job to find a job. Well, until your business is up and running, you make it your business to start the business. You go out, you write samples, you put them where you think people can find them, you set up profiles for yourself, you give information, you talk to people, get on Upwork, get on, insert freelance site here. Upwork's the only freelance site I use now, so but you go out there and you make the best of it, and use your time wisely, and you have to make the hard decisions. You have to prioritize, because something that a lot of people don't recognize until they start getting their feet wet is how much work it is to write for a living and to work from home. Because you think about writing, especially if you love writing, and you're good at it, you think, oh, it's going to be super easy, I get to do something that I love. You don't really think about the flip side of the coin, which is you're going to end up, at least at first, with projects you may not necessarily want to mess with. But if you want to get experience, if you want to start building up your reputation, it's something that you have to do. And it can be a pain, and if you're working from home, it creates additional issues. On the one hand, sure, it can eliminate a lot of expenses. If you have a car, you pay less in gas, you pay less in maintenance, you do all these things. Your insurance may even go down if you're not driving as much. You may not pay daycare. I have really harsh feelings about daycare in general, but you won't pay for daycare. Or after school care, before school care, whatever. You won't pay for those, but at the same time, you're going to have to be able to balance the needs of your clients with the needs of your family and your own needs while you're at home. And then, for a lot of people, the isolation becomes a big deal too when they work from home. And you also have to learn how to deal with people, friends, family, neighbors who tell you, oh, well, you can do that later. I need you to run my errands for me. I need you to babysit my kids for me because you don't work or you stay home. They've never done it, so they don't really know how much work is in it. And a lot of people who want to do it, they just see the glamorous side, They don't really see both sides of the coin. And that can really get people into trouble. And it's the same, you can also get yourself into trouble if you work full-time or part-time and you're starting to write, trying to start your writing business. First, you need to find out whether or not your employer is even cool with you starting something on the side, because depending on what you're doing now for a living, whatever subject matter you think you're going to end up writing about, how to stuff, how not to do stuff, whatever, business plans, articles, it doesn't really matter. You need to make sure that if you're a party in a non-compete agreement, that starting your business isn't going to violate that. So you definitely want to talk to your employer, talk to a lawyer, talk to somebody to make sure that you're not about to screw yourself over. Believe it or not. So that's one issue, and then the other issue ends up being, for a lot of people, not being able to set their priorities, because, and I get it, they're tired. It happens. I started doing this while teaching, and I was also working in a law firm, so believe me, I know what it's like to be tired. I also have children. I get it. I get it. But you have to decide whether or not you're willing to delay personal gratification now to move towards your dreams, so that hopefully, you can live the life that you want instead of going to a job that you aren't super happy with, or, maybe you're happy with it, but obviously it's not your dream job. So there's a lot of different factors that you should consider. But ultimately, it really does boil down to, if this is something that you want to do, you must make sure that you treat it like a business. That's really all I have for you guys today. I know it wasn't very long. Make sure that you head on over to confessionsfromthecouch.com. Give us a follow. Join the almost 2,000 subscribers. If you have questions or comments or concerns or even hate mail, we love hate mail. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook, both at The Robin Bull, all one word. That's actually how these questions came in today, was through Twitter. So, makes life easy, right? And just trying to think if there's anything else I need to add. Oh, and if you are looking for job leads, I moved my job leads over to Patron. There is a nominal fee to access the jobs. That fee is $5 a month. And what that fee does is gives you access to a list that is updated Monday through Friday right now. It has, it is Thursday, July 26, 2018. There are over 300 jobs on the list. I think it's closer to 350. I spend time every day going out, finding new jobs, sourcing them, curating them, putting them together for you to go out and chase. So, if time is your thing and you're concerned that you don't have enough time to go out and find clients, that is a pretty good way to get started, and it's a very nominal fee. It's like $1.25 a week, so not bad. So again, questions, concerns, comments, hate mail, you guys all know where to find me.